Electric cars are they're great, but they're very much like sex without sound.
Hello, everybody. That was a soundbite from our interview with Tony Fleming from Fleming's Ultimate Garage. And no, he wasn't talking about mimes. That interview can be heard at the end of this podcast. And today we're going to cover a number of topics, including a vehicle stolen during a test drive. And you better believe it was a Dodge Charger. The car chip shortage being far from over, and how a girlfriend steals and sells her boyfriend's Chevy Impala. Let's get started.
All right, so let's talk about the Utah bill targeting classic cars getting derailed. I know this was prompted by some angry rant in the Salt Lake Tribune. So do you want to tell us about that, Stephen?
Oh, yeah. Well, I laughed and laughed when I read this article. I don't remember which columnist it was at the Tribune. They're all lovely people. It's my favorite newspaper in the U.S., let me tell you. They're mad because this bill, it's like so many bills that we've seen in so many other states where they want to close the loophole for registering a vintage car where you don't have to pass emissions. And I guess some people, they think that a vintage car has to be from like 1950 or earlier, because otherwise it doesn't count. Never mind that time keeps marching on. And so what would be considered vintage now is newer than what was considered vintage when they were, in college. I don't understand the mentality other than they just don't want any cars to be counted as vintage or hardly any. So supposedly it's going to close, because it supposedly is going to close up the loophole so that, cars that are 30 years old aren't vintage, which is stupid in my opinion, but whatever. But the state senator who was sponsoring this bill came out with it, and it was actually to help maintain a highway for trucks hauling fossil fuels from eastern Utah towards the refineries in the central part of the state. And the environmentalists just lost their minds.
So are they mad because they've been hoodwinked? Do they feel spiteful?
That was the claim made by the columnists, is that they were hoodwinked, they were tricked. I don't really see that as being tricked. They might have misunderstood, or there's some miscommunication there. But I mean, did he get anything from them because they thought that he was going to write the bill one way and it really was something else? Because unless he got a bunch of money from
money.
I don't think
if you're an environmentalist, you don't have money.
Well, he's a Republican, so I doubt the environmentalists are shoveling money at him. I think they just got their hopes up. And here's a personal rant of mine. I really hate when people rant about fossil fuels when they directly benefit from fossil fuels. Like, I've known so many people who are, oil is evil, as they're wearing their North Face jacket that's made using fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you wear all wool? Because then you're not depending on fossil fuels.
That you shorn yourself. And it's like complaining about capitalism while you're drinking Starbucks and playing with your iPhone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And driving your Chevy. I mean, come on. Or your BMW or whatever. It's just so dumb. I mean, we all benefit from it. In Utah, all the homes are heated by natural gas, and a lot of that they call it the Uinta oil patch in eastern Utah is natural gas. They have a ton of natural gas out there. So, when it's like 18 degrees outside and you're sitting nice and warm in your house, you can think natural gas. But they don't want to bring that more effectively to the refineries. Instead, they want to tell people who have a 1988 Camaro that they can't register their car and drive on the road anymore because it has to pass emissions. Right. Like, they're driving that every day to work.
We're trying to save the world here, Stephen. This is the way to do it. Your Camaro must go.
Like Dwight Schrute drove his Camaro to work every day, but I mean, and so they probably look at that and they think, well, that's reality, because they don't know the difference between a TV show and what people actually do. But
yeah.
Well, and there's no way to test a lot of these vehicles anyways. Like unless they're OBD2, like you can't even test them in Georgia. So like anything that's not OBD2 is exempt here, I believe. I might be wrong on that. I live in an emissions exempt county, so I don't really care. Like, sorry guys, but I mean, if you can't test the car, then how do you say that they have to go through emission standards? Like,
right. And I forget what I don't know if they switched to OBD2 testing in Utah or not, because now I live in Arizona, and where I live we don't have emissions testing. Don't check for cats on my car. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, and that's a fair point. And they've done a similar, or they tried to do a similar thing in Nevada that I covered about a year ago. So, I mean, they keep trying to do this in different states where they want to close the loophole for what classifies as a vintage car. But I mean, honestly, most people, if they own cars that old, they're not driving them all the time. So they're really not a big contributor to pollution.
Yeah,
right.
They're more rare. Like, right? They're like you said, they're collector cars. They're older. They're not on the road as often. The people who own them, they're not their daily drivers.
Yeah, they're a pleasure vehicle. I mean, you know, I used to have a 92 vehicle, and I would drive it on occasion because, yeah, I mean, you know, it wasn't as nice and it wasn't as reliable, and I was trying to fix a bunch of things on it, and you're just not out commuting every day in a car like that. But
I mean, I see more airplanes flying over my house than I probably do see pre-2001 cars like driving down the street.
Yep.
So
this was for
gonna pin the airplanes
loophole,
for some
the loophole on
emissions.
this was the cars are 30 years old, not even 20. They're 30 years old.
It's ridiculous. I mean,
yeah, it's I think a 30-year-old car definitely should be counted as a vintage, but whatever. But apparently the Salt Lake Tribune, it's worth mentioning, I mentioned this in my article, the Salt Lake Tribune, it's the same publication where their whole editorial board released an op-ed a few months ago saying that the governor of Utah should raise the National Guard there to essentially place all the unvaccinated people on house arrest.
Oh.
So, I mean, they have a track record of making stupid judgment calls on things, and that only scratches the surface. They had another, one of their reporters, I just realized that he was from the Trib this morning, was contacting everyone in Utah he could find on that hacked, leaked list of people who contributed to the Freedom Convoy in Canada.
The truckers, yeah.
The truckers, yeah. And was harassing about why did they contribute. So, I mean, they're a lovely publication. And they love automotive enthusiasts. Let me tell you, they really
sounds like they're big fans.
They are.
Huge. They sound awesome. Like to hang out with these guys.
Yeah. Oh,
they sound like a happy group of folks.
Yeah, fun at a party.
Trying to make everyone else just as happy as they are. It's Salt Lake, baby.
Awesome. I'm sure they'd have a hoot hanging out with us.
Oh yeah. So
seems like they have a track record of not being biased or radical at all. So that's good.
Here's a reasonable approach.
Yeah.
Pedal your car with your feet, Flintstone style.
Yeah, if anybody says something's reasonable, watch out.
Well, they probably don't understand why everybody doesn't just buy a Tesla like they did.
Yeah, easiest thing in the world.
They're readily available.
Yeah. And they're so affordable. Like they're so practical for the everyday person.
And reliable too.
All right, so let's get into some of these headlines here. And again, you're listening to the Motorious Podcast. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple. Actually, we got big news about our podcast. We're number 30 in Australia on Apple Podcasts for the
There we
automotive
go.
segment. Number 30.
Australia.
Shout
Shout out
to
to
What
them.
you doing over there? You got nothing better to do than listen to us?
Well, don't scare them off. We like them.
No, I'm happy. I love Australia. They got a great love for electric cars.
Yeah, they do. I feel bad for them because they don't get the cars that we do. And then
No.
like when they do, it's sort of like not like they're not well optioned. They don't have like the big top packages like when they did have like the Camaro. I don't think they got like the ZL ones or anything like that. So like they really love cars, but they just don't get the cool cars over there. But like when they're classics, what's that?
I was gonna say, have you seen how expensive cars are over there?
Oh, I know.
Oh, they get worked. I feel bad for Australians. I really do. They pay way too much for cars.
Yeah, there was like the 71 Holden I was writing about last week. It got stolen and they said it was worth like $150,000. And I'm like, for what? Like, why though? I mean, they're cool cars, but that's pretty pricey, like even in this market. So anyway, shout out to Australia. Thanks for listening. Hope things are going well. So let's talk about our headlines. This Dodge Charger stolen during test drive got quite a bit of attention. So the story, this is actually in my area.
Surprise.
I know, it's
a
just
Dodge
shocking.
Charger stolen. See that Dodge over there? I'm gonna steal it.
Where? No. So these people roll up in a Camaro to test drive a car, and the poor salesperson like gets out to switch seats with one of the passenger from the Camaro, and he just like gets in and like jets off and like takes off, and the Camaro takes off. And later, like down the road, the Camaro got caught. Like the police basically like blocked him in, and he got out and he was like taken in without incident. And then I don't know exactly what happened to the Charger. I guess he wrecked it, and then
it
he
looked
like
he crashed it.
Yeah.
Had to crash it.
Of course he crashed it.
Yeah.
And the guy took off on foot, but like he walked from the Charger across this like car wash, and there was a sheriff there getting his patrol car washed. And so it was basically just like, oh, there he is, and like arrested him. And this is all like on dash cam footage. It's pretty good stuff. So
Fancy meeting you here. It's the kids today, and Grand Theft Auto ruined everything. These kids stealing cars, crashing them, think they can get away just by going to the car wash. The freaking cops just give up. Where'd he go?
I think you may be onto something.
Yeah.
I mean, realize
Video games. These violent video games.
You get to the car wash and you're safe, right? All the scars go away.
A simple paint job and we're done.
oh, that reminds me of that like real life GTA like thing where that guy was just stealing like one car after another, like snatching people out. Like,
literally open a door, throwing them, driving down the road, crashing, running, jumping a fence.
Yeah.
And then it looked like a video game because he got to a fence. It was like just jumping against it. Couldn't scale it. So it was like, I'm done.
That
My
guy
math is low.
He should have done more pull-ups in preparation for the
yeah, another tip for criminals. If you're going to be a criminal, be in shape. Last week, it was if you're going to track cars, get a better tracking device.
Not that we're giving advice to criminals.
No, this is a new segment. This is a new
Find
segment.
your local obstacle course.
Yeah.
Give it a few goes. Then find your local Dodge Charger dealer.
Yeah, I bet those guys from American Ninja would be like really good at
awesome.
cars.
Or those guys who play like Ultimate Tag.
Yeah.
Except for they have real goals in life, so they're not out stealing cars.
Exactly.
Hey, things can change. You don't know.
Ouch.
All right. So what's the state of the things can go downhill for anything. So the car
downhill.
Yeah, speaking of downhill, exactly. The car chip shortage is far from over is our next headline to talk about. So let's get into that.
Thanks, China.
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody's tuned into the fact that we have a major problem with microchips for the auto industry, but also for consumer electronics and a lot of other things. Last year, when I first started covering this, there was a lot of journalists who like believed that by this time everything would be getting better and we'd be doing just fine. And I was saying nope, and some people thought I was really doomsday, but I said we're not going to be out of the woods until at least 2023. And now, guess what? They're saying it's going to be at least until 2023. because what it's going to take is to make chips here in the US. And apparently it's not that fast to start making microchips. It takes a little while to set it up and make them. So yeah, I mean, the problem's just getting worse. Ford is the one that's really taken on the kisser the most, and they have the whole time since the shortage started. And since they got rid of, all their sedans and cars that weren't selling as much, they've had to cut into the bone. So they're rolling back production on
really
Broncos and F-150s and Explorers, which really hurts. Meanwhile, like Mercedes, they're just rolling back production for their cheaper models and
pumping
putting
all the chips into their high end, right?
Yeah, into their E classes and S classes and so on. And so they're just laughing all the way to the bank because those have huge profit margins. And they furloughed employees, but apparently they don't care about that because, yeah.
Isn't Elon Musk spinning up a manufacturing plant here in the U.S.? Is he the first one who's doing it?
Or for chips?
Yeah, for chips.
I haven't heard that. No, so there's 2 foundries that are being built here in Arizona by Intel. And then I heard Texas is building some, and the same with Florida. And I thought I heard maybe Oklahoma, but I'm not sure on that. So
Texas will have the biggest plant.
There are quite a few. Yeah, if Musk is getting involved, he doesn't do things small. But it makes sense that he was, because Tesla apparently is running short on chips. And at least the cars that are made in China are going without some features. Those don't come to the US, but they go to like Australia and Germany and the UK. And so people are kind of freaking out because some features on the cars aren't going to be available.
Brakes.
Welcome to the party. Yeah, you don't need brakes. Just stick your foot out.
There you go. Back to the Flintstones, baby.
But the worst part of this is they're talking about now ABC News is reporting that listing prices for used vehicles surged 40% in January, year over year, for an average listing of $28,000 for a used vehicle in the U.S.
Subtitle: This is a good thing. Thanks, ABC.
Yeah. So, if you're shopping for a car, I mean, you can find deals, but good luck. It's getting really bad.
It's almost just go buy a new car. I mean, right?
In some cases, the new cars are cheaper than the used cars, which makes no sense.
We live in a clown world, Stephen. It's upside down.
Well, the chip situation is just ridiculous. And I mean, we're going to have a solution, but it's going to take a while, unless, big time war breaks out, and then, car manufacturing, goodbye.
Well, thank God that's not about to happen.
Or has already started.
Yeah. Don't get me started.
Yeah, that's something that we should talk about we'll see how things go with Russia, but during World War II they stopped production on cars. Yep. Are we going to do that again if things really kick off? Like we're not going to have cars at all. So great, but we'll talk about that on the next episode because we need to see where things are going before we really throw the alarm bells over that one. Something to keep in mind, though. I mean, don't go out and panic buy all the cars, but it might be a good time. You can get one. Go ahead and buy one. So let's talk about the girlfriend steals and sells classic Chevy Impala. This was a heartwarming story. I believe we posted it for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we posted it for Valentine's Day. Now, a guy claims this happened. He posted about it on Reddit, but I can't find any news stories to back it up. So, take it for what it's worth. That's off Reddit.
Yeah, we'll take it. We want to talk about it.
True.
The guy claimed that he had a 1967 Impala that he bought, and he was working on doing a nut and bolt restoration on it. And he had a 2-car garage, but he'd taken apart the car, and he had the body on one side of the garage and the frame or the chassis on the other side of the garage, and parts all over the place. And his girlfriend started living with him, and she was angry. She couldn't park her car, which was probably a Hyundai or Kia or something like that, very classic, in the garage. She was mad about that. But he said he lived on 2 acres of land with lots of shade trees. So, if she was concerned about the heat or whatever, she'd park under a tree and let the birds crap all over it. But so she was mad about that, And if that's not a red flag, he probably should have kicked her out, but moved
Yeah.
on. But he didn't. So he went on a business trip for a couple days. When he came back, she was really happy, cooked him like a nice dinner and all that. And then he realized he didn't see her car anywhere, and he asked where her car was. And she said, "Oh, it's in the garage." And then he went to the garage and saw that the Impala was gone. She had listed online while he was on his trip, and some guys came and hauled it off. She gave some story about how it was her dad's who just died of cancer, some nonsense like that. So the guy called the cops. They were able to find the car in a scrapyard, but he claimed that the scrapyard employees were trying to hide it when the cops showed up. So he's
don't want to be accused of taking stolen goods, right?
yeah. Well, yeah. Every time you sell a car to a scrapyard, you're supposed to produce a title, at least in most states. So it seems pretty sketchy, but not everybody follows the law. Yeah, people are really mad about this story. Really mad about this.
Rightly so. I mean, on so many different levels, like you said, there's red flags from the beginning.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you got some crazy people out there.
Well,
Stealing a car, a classic car.
Well, at least he didn't try to park his motorcycle inside his house.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm actually starting a new column about love and vehicles, and yeah, we're gonna go over situations like this, and I'll give some relationship advice.
It's needed apparently.
It is, yeah, and there are lots of red flags here. So I'm trying to train enthusiasts so that they can recognize the red flags early and take action. Because
Well, tell the young men who are listening the exact red flags with this lady.
In this situation, I don't know the fact
Let's
that
start our column, our love advice column.
Oh yeah.
Listen, if she doesn't like your car,
if she doesn't like your car, if she
it's not going to change.
Yeah. And she complains about how she can't park her car in the garage because you're restoring a car in the garage. I mean, she's obviously not respecting your hobby at all.
Yeah. She couldn't sacrifice, the occasional car wash.
Yeah, because you probably sit in stupid clothing stores while she tries on like 50 outfits. You're sacrificing. I mean, it's a two-way street.
He should have listened to his mother, I always knew there was something wrong with that girl.
Exactly.
You should have dated Sandra's daughter with the lazy eye. She would have never sold your car.
There's some wisdom in that.
Mom knows best.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's not going to grow out of that one. I'm going to tell you that. No, nobody changes. They just get worse as they get older. So let's talk about let's talk about the comments now. From last week's show, we got a comment. I think Arnold ate a lot of paint chips as a kid because Arnold
protein.
I still don't really understand that accident. Like, I've tried to follow up and see what the conclusion was, but it's kind of been like shoved under the rug a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I think Arnold might have eaten some paint chips. I mean, he's from a different,
Hey,
what was it that hit him again? It was a Prius, right?
A Prius, yeah.
Wow.
God, I hope the license plate on that Prius said freedom. Got him right in the tail end.
Why would it say that on a Prius? Oh, never mind. Don't answer that.
Right. Yeah. That's why it's hopeful. It's a hopeful thinking there.
I was going to say in Austria, I mean, they didn't have a lot of food thanks to a certain system. So, yeah, they probably were eating paint chips to, sustain life. So you can't really blame Arnold for that.
No chip shortage here.
We have a solution. So
yes.
Another comment, speed doesn't kill, bad drivers do. Did you know that the speed limit was actually put into place to like help with fuel economy? And it really doesn't have anything to do with trying to reduce crashes. So I don't know. Like,
I mean, in Europe, the Autobahn and what have you,
right,
they're ridiculously higher speed limits, and I'm curious to see what their accident level is, because I know that in order to become a licensed driver in Europe, the tests that you have to pass are extremely rigid and much more difficult than they are here.
You mean their actual tests? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, no, I mean, you hit a few people, but you pass, so no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you don't really have to do a legal left-hand turn. You just, I mean, golly. I mean, you watch how people drive on the roads here today.
Mm.
Okay, did everyone here pass their driver's license test the first time?
Yes.
Boom, first time. And
First
I took
time.
the little course so I could lower my insurance. So we're just looking at a screen and like, oh, here comes a lady with a shopping cart. And you're like hitting the fake brake. Oh yeah.
Wow.
I took it serious.
I didn't
Very
do that.
seriously. Yeah, now kids have to take, like, they have to take a course, and then they have to do some sort of like alcohol and drugs course. This might just be in Georgia. But they have to take like a whole bunch of stuff and then take the driver's test. And like, honestly,
I
and
thought
can
you would
hear
have
me.
said it was in California where it's like,
Oh, I don't
have
know.
you have to pass this while on alcohol and drugs.
Yeah,
Wow.
they throw like a bum out in front of you to make sure you miss them,
Well, actually,
dodging the heroin needles.
the driving test in California is, what do you do for 5 hours while you're stuck in traffic that isn't moving?
Okay. Shoot it up, I guess.
That's a true
Yeah.
test.
I know that when my kids are of age, I plan to take them down to Greenville, South Carolina, to the BMW course, because they got a training course for young kids where they put you in insanely difficult conditions, like literally wet road, make you spin out, put you through all those scenarios so you can basically practically apply that in real life if you ever need to.
Yeah, they have that at the driving school here. So,
That's good.
yep. That's a good
Yep.
thing to do.
I don't know. Is that the same BMW course that we went to for the company things?
It
That
is.
it is.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun.
was.
I scared my passenger out of riding with me, so I had to go out that alone. So that was pretty cool. Get to test out like the incline and the decline of the vehicles, and like at the end of it, my passenger was like, "Nope, I'm absolutely not going on the autocross with you."
Yeah.
That's when you know you're an extra good driver.
I might be a little aggressive, but like once we got to the
what I
road
just-
course,
So good, it's scary.
yeah, I mean, I
Aggressive
was
is
like
good.
tracking people down on the last one was like a road course where like everybody was kind of on the track at the same time, and the instructor kept stopping me because I would like come up the hill and try to go around the car in front of me, and it was like terrifying to other people. But
Of course,
that's their
we're all
problem.
amateurs out there.
I know.
No passing. I remember.
No passing on tracks. And come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, and I might have a little bit of experience on road courses, so sorry.
Compared to like 90% of the company,
Yeah.
did not.
Oh, right.
We had some
so
people quit after that week.
my bad.
I mean, not kidding.
Like,
Some people were like, "This company is crazy."
these people are terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, my passenger is still with the company. Well, my passenger for the first segment, who refused to ride with me for the second two, he's still with the company. So
That's good.
I don't know. I guess it was the people that I tracked down that quit.
Yeah.
Like, he's a nutbag.
Yeah. You should have seen when we went out to the super high speed go kart track, outdoor go kart track. We had some people actually went to the hospital after that thing.
Really?
Yeah,
Hey, it's not a sport until somebody gets hurt.
that's right. Yeah, a little contact, you know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
Well,
good
okay.
thing.
You're gonna have to tell us that story now. How did they get hurt?
Oh, I mean, of course you're like, no, rubbing is ration, no hitting. When you get a bunch of friends out there, that's all we did.
Oh, lots of
Was
fun.
literally trying to send people in to the wall or spin them out or just bump out of your way. I mean, you know what it's like. You start running the bumper, you're giggling like a school child, like you're hitting your funny, and then that doesn't result in great results, I guess, but whiplash and whatnot. Someone was having trouble breathing, their back was hurting so bad.
No.
So
Wow.
we haven't been back since.
I can't imagine
I think it's
why.
totally unrelated.
I think we should have a Motorious podcast, like high speed track go-kart track day.
A kart race.
Yes,
That'd
we
be awesome.
should.
Brutal.
We need to do it again.
'Cause
We haven't
I'm
done it in a little bit.
extremely aggressive with go-karts. Like, we haven't gone to a go-kart track that we haven't been kicked out of. We have like Andretti's up here and all that, and we're just, they always like yell at us, and eventually we get told to leave. So, what are you gonna do?
I took my driving course in California. I gotta be drunk and high.
I'm high as a cat right now.
I don't know how you go kart, but
Drive it like you stole it.
that's right. It's a Dodge Charger.
Okay, Dodge Chargers on an obstacle course. That's what we need to do. And we need to steal each other's Chargers.
Yeah, that Netflix series, or what do they call that? Can't remember.
Hyperdrive.
Yep.
Hyperdrive.
Yeah,
like straight out of my childhood imagination. I'm like, what if you were suspended on a bridge and you had to balance it?
That was a damn good show. What happened to that?
It was a good show. When's season 2 coming out?
Yeah, I don't know. Haven't heard anything.
Quite a few years ago. Now let's do that, but like everybody on the track at the same time. Trying to like so racing.
Better than letting someone go, letting them die on the track. This is a recipe for success.
It should be a requirement. They're all Hellcats.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't imagine. They're just gonna all spin out and die. Like, like that guy who tried to race the F-150 truck and couldn't keep it under control.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
I have the best idea ever.
Actually, that was not a Hellcat. I would just want to. Anybody remembers that story? The F-150. That was not a Hellcat. Hellcats actually don't break loose. Like they'll break loose, but they don't jet off into like the stratosphere like that. They have good stability control. So I just want to set the record straight on that. That was definitely a V6, at most like a RT. So
I agree.
Totally.
Yeah, we're not even talking about that. So if you're confused, stay tuned.
Welcome to the Motorious Podcast. Are you confused yet?
Like and subscribe to continue to be confused. Hello, Australia.
You Australia.
Then we got another comment about a video that we posted about this Harvest Scout, and he got a Hellcat Swap. I thought it was pretty cool. The poor little thing got some hate mail that this is new news. This was almost 3 years ago. Man, yeah, we post about stuff that happened 3 years ago if it's still cool. If there's a video out there that exists on it, you know, like we wrote about that Hellcat chase when it was like 2 years old, and that was one of our top articles ever on the site. So yes, this is news.
Yeah, not everybody's, up to snuff in their car news as you, buddy.
I like
News
the
to me.
part where they said that we don't know how to write also, and they spelled TWO and write RITE.
I think he meant you too.
I think maybe.
He shops at Rite Aid, so that must be the way to do it.
You can't blame him. Like it's slightly ironic, but
He used the wrong week and the wrong year, so
Week.
Oh, true. Yes.
week. Yes, this was posted during the week. He caught on.
He might have been in a hurry. I gotta go take my driving test in California.
Well, he was prepping for it. He was already high and drunk at the same time.
There you go. Just got a Dodge Charger, robbed the Rite Aid.
Not from there.
All right, now from here. So that's what's going on now in the automotive industry. And of course, we always like to talk about the Wild Past. We've got a heck of a subject today. We're going to talk about John Paul Sr. The John Paul Jr. wasn't that great either, but Sr., he's known as like the most infamous, like wanted man in motorsports. So this guy, he's like known as being a really smart dude, but he's like really arrogant. He was very well educated. He was the patriarch of the endurance racing Paul family, if you're familiar with that. His racing career began in the late 1960s, and he had a lot of success, but his wife left him in 1972 with their kid, and he was just like, all right, screw it. Like, I'm done with racing, done with the real world, and I'm going to get on my sailboat, and I'm going to sail away. So he did that for a couple of years, and then he came back in 1975, and he raced with his son, John Paul Jr., and the Paul family had a lot of success and a lot of rise in motorsports really quickly. And Senior won the World Challenge for Endurance Racers in 1979. And then, they went on to win a lot of other races like 24 Hours Le Mans. But in the meantime, this guy was like trafficking drugs because, of course, it's like not the only guy that you traffic drugs at that
Racing
time.
is an expensive sport.
Yeah, they got to pay for this somehow.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing on that boat for all those years.
I'd like to thank our sponsors, Crystal Meth. It's the only way I make it through the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
And your
Hop up on Crystal
California
Meth.
license test also.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, during that time, he became paranoid about like the informants around him, and there was a guy, Stephen Carson. He was like the fall guy. So like if the feds caught on, he was the one that would take the fall, and that's exactly what happened. And Carson was in like custody, but he refused to talk, so he wasn't like officially charged with anything. And this guy David, who was like on coke and super super paranoid, was like feeding in to Paul Sr.'s head, like, Carson's going to talk. I just know that Carson's going to talk. So Paul's like, let's go talk to him. Let's go talk to Carson, see what's going on, make sure everything's legit. They get on a plane together, and the rumor is that Paul Sr. shot this guy David, like over the ocean and like pushed him out of the plane. And the guy got disappeared, basically. So Carson was still a loose end. And Paul Sr. went and hunted him down, where he was like flounder fishing at 3 a.m. because apparently that's the thing. Sounds like fun, actually. Mm-hmm. I wonder if he was spearfishing.
The fish really bite at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Well, I think you spearfish flounder. I'm not sure that, because they lay on the bottom. Yeah, that would be fun. But wouldn't it be fun is that Paul Sr. caught up with him, and he tried to kidnap him at gunpoint. And this guy Carson, he had gone to the car, and he looked in the trunk, and he's like, yeah, there's no way I'm getting this trunk, because it's going to be it for me if I get in the trunk. So he takes off running, and Paul Sr. shoots him in the hip, and he gets him on the ground, and then he shoots him 3 more times, and the guy survived. He was on a podcast recently.
Bad shot.
3 times on the ground he got shot.
I'm still alive, barely.
Merely a flesh wound.
Not what I think. Yeah,
it is a flesh wound.
I know what to do. Just take you over the plane and drop you in the ocean.
So Paul Sr. then got scared off. Somebody was, I guess, like fishing with this guy, and so he fled. And then he was arrested like shortly thereafter, and they let him out on bail because great decision.
That's what we do. You're not a flight risk.
And then once he, was out on bail, like he, made a run for it. But when they did catch him, he did go to prison for attempted murder. And then his son, John Paul Jr., was charged for racketeering for refusing to testify against his father. And while Sr. was in prison, him and another guy sprayed a guard with hot sauce and Pine Sol in his face to try to make a run for it. And they made it as far as the fence, but the guard that they like maimed with hot sauce and Pine Sol did catch up to him, and they stopped him.
And he wasn't happy. Let me tell you.
I have a question.
Pulling out that nightstick. Son of a get. I have a question.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, where did they get the Pine Sol from? Like, were they Pine Soling all that fine woodworking in the prison?
was it Pine Sol?
Yeah,
like
Pine
the
Sol.
Chemical or sawdust?
No, the cleaner.
Pine Sol.
Okay.
You polish wood with. Yeah, where'd they get it from?
I don't know, but if you're listening from prison, would you like
woodworking class?
I mean, what kind of prison was this?
Yeah. Sounds pretty fancy.
Yeah.
You got to keep the mahogany shiny, Stephen.
So if you're listening from prison, drop us a comment.
I'm looking at the article, and I'm looking at the main image where it's 2 guys. Like, who are those 2 guys in there? Is one Paul Sr., one Paul Jr.?
Yeah.
So obviously Paul Sr. is the guy on the left.
Yeah.
The older gentleman. Yeah, he looks like the deranged guy.
Yeah, he's got like a 7 head. Look at that double lip. We got 2
I know.
lips.
It looks kind of like a donkey. No, yeah. Paul Jr., though, he looks like the guy who drives around in a van offering candy to kids.
That's the guy. When I first saw this, that's the guy who I thought was the murderer. Look at that cold, dead look.
I thought the same thing.
Ted Bundy face.
Freaking blue sniffer. Look at that guy. That's a mouth breather right there. He's right to the mouth. Dry lips. Dad got 3 rows of teeth like a shark.
Double dry lips.
Yeah, 7 head. Look at that thing. That receding hairline, it's gone. He looks like he's in motion right now. That's the family. That's on the mantelpiece right there. Look at us, boy. 2 handsome fellas. Let's go murder someone on our boat.
What a great family, is all I have to say. These guys, they kill together. A family that kills together stays together, right?
Allegedly.
Where's the Pine Sol?
Yes.
He was never, convicted of murder. So
He's never convicted, huh?
yeah. Well,
Murder.
so this story goes on. We're gonna back up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Before he
yeah.
went to jail, he met a woman named Shalise at a racetrack. She was there with her husband, so sounds like a nice girl. And she got in the car.
Real meat cute right here. Keep going. That's a great story.
Yeah. So she got in the car and rode around with John Paul Sr. at the track, and I guess they fell in love. So she divorced his. I hate to joke about it because this is about to get dark, but she divorced her first husband, married him. Then she divorced John Paul Sr. and sued him for alimony and won. And I think they might have gotten remarried somewhere along the line, and then they were going to get divorced again.
So it's one of those healthy relationships.
Yeah, not toxic whatsoever.
Yeah.
So at some point, they decided that they were going to take a trip to Florida together. And I don't know, what bigger signs you need not to go anywhere with this guy. But, she went missing. And she's still missing today. She's assumed dead. But her family never reported her, formally as, missing. I guess, they kind of took his story and, believed it.
That sounds right.
She
loved Florida so much.
Yeah, she just stayed in Florida, changed her identity, and never contacted anyone again, I guess. I mean,
she really found herself. Threw her phone in the ocean.
She sounded super stable, so maybe they thought she just ran off.
Might not have been the first time.
All right, let's go down to the next layer.
And the next layer.
This gets better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then go
the
back
next
to
romance story.
Yeah. It's wonderful. This guy's just a real Romeo. So he was paroled in 1999, and he met an office manager named Colleen Wood. And after they hung out or did whatever they were doing for a while, she decided that she was going to quit her job, sell all of her property, and go sail away with him, because why not get on a boat with John Paul Sr., this guy who is just in prison for making people go missing and shooting somebody 4 times. Of course, she goes missing too. And after a while, she actually was reported as missing by her sons. And after she was reported missing, there's activity on the card. So the police were really suspicious. And they, went and interviewed him. And he had a couple of stories about what happened, and they kind of backed off. And then they came back to talk to him. And this was in 2001. And he went missing. And now he's still missing. So he could be out there. He would be 83 years old. But he might be out there charming the ladies still and making people go missing.
He's that guy in the bar.
Hey, yeah, watch out. Hide your grandmas.
I think
hide your grandmas.
I've heard the story before. Was his boat called Slice of Life?
Yeah.
Because, and then he went missing. He sailed into a hurricane, and then he ended up in upstate New York with an outdoor shop, right?
I'm not sure.
This is the most random freaking story I've ever heard.
He completely reminds me of Dexter.
Just worse. Yeah.
Everybody around him goes missing.
If Dexter was terrible at killing somebody, I swear the next knife stab is gonna be the one. Stop squirming.
But yeah, everybody around him, the cops are like, we don't have enough evidence to do anything. Oh well.
It's Florida. It's hot. They're probably here. They probably got in the house. There are probably all 3 of them on houseboat together. Down in Everglades.
The humidity.
Gators got them.
Don't get on the water with this guy. I mean, he didn't do very well on dry land.
Yeah, that's right. That was his downfall. That was his kryptonite. Dry land, water, bat 1,000,
and in the air too.
Oh, that's right.
Well, he was over water.
Oh, it's because he was near water that.
Yeah, that's where he harnessed his power from.
Yeah.
I'll just say, shooting a gun in an airplane, not advisable.
Did he do it on the ground?
No,
or was it in the airplane?
Shot the guy in the air, right?
This guy's a genius.
The guy he shot was on the ground. We're not sure what happened to David, the cokehead, in the airplane. It's just rumored that he killed him.
His chief advisor? Yeah.
And he probably opened the door and he's like, hey, check out that thing in the water right there.
It's you, jerk!
I think I see a fish. Come here, David.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Well, bye. Oh man,
so
bad movie.
What a story!
No, that'd be an awesome movie, because it's hard to even just recap, because this wasn't the only stuff that was going on at the time at all. So if somebody wants to make a movie out of it, like I'd watch it.
They should, like Sicario. They should do that kind of a movie, about auto racing and murder and drugs,
Double lips and
double
dead stares and
and candy vans.
Yeah, that's right. Oh god.
So Junior actually died of Huntington's disease. So he's not around anymore. He's not charming the ladies.
Oh, that's sad.
Ted Bundy, Junior is gone. So Senior has, earned the title of being like the biggest scumbag in racing and the most wanted man in motorsports.
There you go.
Not an easy title to win. So good job.
Well,
it's very competitive.
He won.
So, we did it.
The title.
Murdering.
We need to dig into some of the other scumbags in the history of racing because there are quite a few of them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
sordid past.
And now this kind of stuff doesn't happen very often because we got like money coming in there and they own race teams. So like you're probably not going to find out that like Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been like trafficking coke or
running
anything.
guns or something.
Yeah.
And those days are hopefully over.
They didn't call my dad the Intimidator for nothing.
Yeah. Come to find out that he earned that name a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to keep talking about this because there's one that he's a good guy. I'm not going to say his name, but we got a guy coming on that kind of did the same thing, minus the murdering stuff.
Minus the murder.
Minus the murder. Nobody went missing. There maybe was a fatality or two, but he wasn't responsible for it. So we'll talk about that hopefully next time. So let's talk about inventory to kind of lighten the mood because that got dark.
Let's bring it back up. Let's get cheery.
Let's talk about Zach's pick because last week we missed a really good story that happened after the show about Zach and his Bronco.
Yeah. Well, I chose a 1989 Ford Bronco 4x4 Eddie Bauer edition. This one is offered by Streetside Classics for $29,995. But yeah, this is my I am so sorry I let it go story because I used to have a 1989 Ford Bronco 4x4 Eddie Bauer edition. Now this one's got a blue exterior and I had the hunter green, but I loved that truck. And at the time it was older and I used it. It needed some work and was giving me issues. Just one of those things where at the time it wasn't worth a lot of money. And this was technically before the older Broncos started going up in value because, was it 5 years or maybe 8 years ago, something around there, the 60s and 70s Broncos just started popping. But these weren't, and it looked like it would take a lot more money than it was worth to fix some things. So I actually sold it. It was part of a deal I made with the guy who I had coming to my property, like cut down like 40 trees. I was like, hey, you knock a few $1,000s off the top. I'll let you take the Bronco because he was eyeing it. So that's how it went down. And I've always missed the Bronco after that. And of course, now you can't get them for a reasonable price. All these box body Broncos are going up there. If I just held on to that thing, what would it be worth today? It was
$29,000.
At least $30,000 almost. At least.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we bought one. Sorry.
I mean, it was a family vehicle. Like my dad bought it from the dealership in 1989, so it was one owner technically. I mean, I'd be
oh my god, that'd be worth a lot of money if you kept it. Let me salt the wound.
We use it, but like we never took off the back, because we always knew it's like you take them off and they maybe get a little warped. The seal's never right. So
suddenly it's like the new Broncos where the roof is leaking and rattling.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait a minute.
And they got no chips, Steven.
That too, no chips.
Paint chips.
Paint chips. Arnold loves the Bronco. It tastes delicious.
Arnold could subsist.
That's a terrible Arnold impression. You get it.
Your
You get
article
it.
impressions are getting marginally better each time you do it. So
Marginally, yeah. It's
I
not
think
saying
you're in
much.
the same region now, at least.
Yes. Yeah.
It
Switching
was
my
like
bonus.
Australia last time. Maybe that's why we've
Hey,
got
they could
listeners.
relate. And it's like, hey,
They're like,
that's how I do my impression of Arnold. This guy's pretty cool.
Oh,
But
my
yeah,
God.
that's my story. And these are awesome vehicles. I always loved it. It's super plush. And now they're going up in value, and I don't have mine. So this is what I think about late at night when I'm sipping bourbon or something. The one that got away.
Does your wife know?
Why, she doesn't need to know that.
Listen to the podcast.
She was
Is she in
not a red
Australia?
flag, but she was happy to see it go because
Yeah.
it took up a lot of room, and
In the
I was
garage?
always working on it in the garage, you know.
Oh. So what really
But
happened
I-
to Bronco, Zach?
Yeah. And I took my wife on the boat ride.
Wasn't buying this tree cutting down story, but now we know.
I yelled timber. But
All right, Mrs. Roach, do not go on a sailboat in Florida with Zach. He's got
she would know that in any case. None of us would make it home. I'm not a sailor. Let's just say that.
All right.
Well, you got to learn. You said you wanted to be Florida man. So
That's right. I wanted to get a fan boat though. Florida man. I make my own wind, Elizabeth.
what part of Florida are you moving to?
It's going to be near the Everglades, so I can just run that baby right up on land, take it
Fair
to
enough.
the Circle K. I don't know what your retirement dreams are.
I don't have any dreams. I'm too young. I know that the
That was
future is going to be
harsh.
destroyed for me. No Social Security, no savings. It's all
Always
done.
optimist.
I'm gonna
Work for the Salt Lake Tribune over there. What's going on?
I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna donate to a trucker that I'm gonna have all my banking account stuff seized, and there's no future.
You should have known better.
And I'm gonna be given driving tests in California when I'm 80 years old. So
There you go.
That's pretty.
That's your dream.
yeah, see, we found my dream. Fantastic. All right.
Now that you know how to drive, flee to Texas. All right. What's Steven got on the inventory? What'd you choose, buddy?
Well, I went with a 1995 AM General Hummer H1 wagon in inventory. And I know everyone, oh yeah, Hummer, that's really cliche, but this thing genuinely is awesome, even compared to other Hummers. First of all, it's a 6.5 liter diesel model, which the diesels, I've seen them with a snorkel go underwater with only the snorkel sticking out of the water and drive back out and be just fine. They're absolutely unstoppable off-roaders.
They're unstoppable on the road too. We saw one hit a power pole or something like that. The
Yes.
Hummer was fine, but it took down like the entire intersection. Gone. Kind of like that Charger.
And so this one has not just a brush guard on front, but it has like a cage that climbs over the hood. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's worse than the rubars that they use in Australia. I mean, this thing, I don't know what they're planning on doing, crashing through the wall of a bank or something
Hitting
like
power
that.
poles.
Yeah.
It's going to come down somewhere.
This thing could take
Probably under the hood.
Oh man, I mean, they're already beasts. And then it has a full roof basket.
I was about to say, look at that luggage rack.
Yeah,
Bring the house.
you could probably
Yeah,
set your tent up on top of that. No problem. It'd be hanging off the side.
This is what my dad needs. Because he goes on like a 2-day trip and he packs like 18 bags. Never know he might need it.
There's more. Okay, look at the interior on this thing. It's nice for an H1. Because H1s, I don't know. I love people who are like think it's there's some luxury vehicle. And I'm like, have you ever seen the inside of an H1? They're not very luxurious, but this is pretty nice, for an H1. It's
for an H1, yeah.
It's not a Mercedes for crying out loud, but it's pretty nice.
Looks like they rubbed it down with some pie salt.
Dealer says it has just over 6,000 miles on it.
And hot sauce.
So,
Hot sauce.
I mean, this thing is pretty cherry.
Yeah.
And it's
Low
a wagon.
mileage.
So if you want a covered cargo area, which a lot of people do, this is a Hummer. It's much better than those stupid H2s. I mean, we love
H2s. They only give you started on the H3s though.
Hey, you know what? They fit the bag of soccer balls just fine. Okay.
Imagine parking that thing in reverse in a compact parking space.
Here comes Arnold. Watch out, please.
You just park on top of the compact.
It's environmental friendly.
It's diesel. You can make biodiesel in your garage.
That's right.
Yeah.
Giving a lot of stuff in your garage. And hey, you might have to start. Things keep going the way they're going.
You hear that, FBI?
Are you talking about Impalas restoring them? Yes.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, there you go. Hey.
Yep.
Just keep your girlfriend away from it. Things are gonna get sideways.
Noted.
So I picked a 2020 McLaren 720 coupe, and it's just for the most shallow reasons. Like, I don't really have a good reason, like, because it's a McLaren, and like my daughter is super into McLarens, and like I noticed that I keep picking really expensive cars, so I need to go through and sort the inventory better next time. Maybe put like a limit on it, because like I keep picking cars like I wouldn't ever be able to afford. Well,
not on a California driving teacher salary.
Hey, it's half the fun to pick something you can't afford. I mean, that Hummer is not cheap.
Yeah, it's $100,000 car.
Yep.
It's a little better than $320,000.
Yeah.
720S is a little bit more.
Yeah, just a hair. Yeah, this is what my daughter. My daughter wants one for her first car. Why not?
First car.
Yeah. Keep dreaming.
Yeah. Like
you're gonna get a Dodge Charger and go steal one.
They're not a beginner car in so many ways.
You're gonna have to hope that you're switched at birth and your real parents are rich. So. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. Zach interviewed Tony Fleming in a special guest interview that he did this week. Do you want to give us a little taste of what Tony talked about?
I mean, we talk about a lot of things, but it's, how he got started in the industry and some of his thoughts on stuff that's happening in the industry. And Tony's a funny guy, so he's got some real nice sound bites in there. So it's definitely an entertaining interview. So stick around.
All right, so stay tuned for that, and then we'll be back to talk more about cars. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, especially if you're in Australia.
There you go. Aussie.
All right.
So we're talking today with Tony Fleming from Fleming's Ultimate Garage. Just an incredible classic car dealership showplace. Tony, thanks for taking some time with us. Just wanted to talk a little bit about your dealership and how you got started. Like, what was it that kicked off your career and started you down the path of being a classic and collector car dealer?
Well, I have a quick little story if you want to hear it. I'll tell it to you real quick. I was in the regular car business, and I've been in it for a long time, but I was like the only guy in the regular car business that really loved cars. And so I always had kind of a cool classic car, even though I was in the regular dealership world. So I decided to get out of it and said, you know what, I think I want to try some classic cars, right? And so I bought a car and fixed it up. I had a guy who was interested in selling it, and because of the retail world I was in, a friend of mine had a lot that he wasn't really using. It was a nice lot in a nice little town here locally. And so I met the guy over there, and so he said, it looks nice. Let me call my wife. Let me think about it. I said, sure you want to think about it, right? He said, yeah, I need to do that. And so while he walked around the corner and went to go think about it, a guy pulled up in a black Suburban. He says, is that car for sale? I said, yes, it is. He goes, how much is it? I told him how much it was. He goes, is that the best you can do? I said, yes. And he said, okay, great. I'll take it. And I said, okay. But I got a guy over here on the side here who's waiting to buy it, but he's talking to his wife. He goes, well, if he has to think about it, it's his loss. Get in my car. Let's go across the street. I'll give you a cashier's check right now, and all done. So in 15 minutes, I sold my entire inventory of one car. And that's how it all started. 21 years ago.
Is that where you got your tagline of I should have bought it when I saw it?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What car was it? What was that first car that started?
It was It was a 63 Corvette convertible. And that customer is still a customer of ours.
Oh, that's awesome.
Done lots
So
of business with him. Yeah,
he was a local guy to the area, I presume.
exactly. Yeah, he was a wealthy dude, but not an easy dude to deal with. And so I was the only one who could ever handle him.
There you go. That sounds about right. So your decision to jump into the collector car world, was this something that you put a lot of thought into? I mean, was there indicators that, hey, there's a lot of money to be made here? Or is this just something, I mean, we know you love classic cars, but is this something you kind of maybe jumped in on a whim just because you did have that passion? Or what kind of happened there?
Well, I think it was more than that. Now, keep in mind, I had run car dealerships from top to bottom. So I started out as a lot attendant almost 40 years ago. And so I worked my way up into every management position. I went to college for dealership management. So I learned all of those parts there. But I just loved cars, man. And you know what? The truth of the matter is, I always made money selling cars, not because I cared about the money. I cared because I loved cars so much. People, I think, could sense the passion of it. And they just did business with me because of that reason. I didn't know whether the business would be good. And here's how you'll know the truth. You ready for this? So at my house, I'm raising 2 kids in a brand new business, right? Brand new business, just started it, right? Didn't have tons of money, didn't have parents that were wealthy. No one in my family had ever been in the business. But so I started this business. And when the business was going well, Monica, my wife, was my partner in it. So she would do the books part and I would run everything else. And so at the dinner table each night with the kids, when the business was going well, it was our business, right? But when the business was going bad, it was Dad's dream. and so it'd be Dad's dream is wrecking our life. And so to this day, everybody, thank goodness, we've all made it. And everybody's doing well. We still joke about that no matter where we are. Dad, hey, Dad, how's the business? Is it your dream? Or is it yours or Mom's business?
Yeah, that's a good indicator of how things are going. I love it. Okay, well, very cool. So you started out with a 63 Corvette. That's what started it all. And obviously, when you go to your showroom, your website now, I mean, you can see all the vehicles that you deal with. And I mean, it is just a wide array of all types of classic and collector cars. Really a great representation of all the different hobby segments that are available in the collector car world. And I know you've basically probably seen it all, sold it all, but looking back, I mean, was there a particular car that was like, that this is the coolest car that we've ever had in inventory, something just incredibly unique or something incredibly rare that just jumps out in your memory?
Yeah, that's almost an impossible question, man. That's like, what's the best kid you have? Or, I just don't think you can answer that because all these cars, and we have some great cars, and we've had some, and not just me, I'm sure everybody who has this kind of business has run across some great cars, but we've had some cars where you can just see the effort of detail and the time it took to do this. We had a Dodge Challenger. So it was a 71 Challenger that had a modern Challenger chassis somehow mounted inside of it. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And this thing was custom built to like $225,000 car, built for autocrossing, had a modern Hemi and all that. This car was amazing because it was old school, but it had so much great stuff in it. That was a great car. And we've had like a fully restored Jaguar XKE, and that car driving down the road, when people see that car, like they don't, if you drive a Prius, like you hate cars, right? If you hate cars, you can't not look at that car and go, oh my God, that car is beautiful.
Yeah, I'm rethinking my life. Yeah.
Right. I don't know how to get out of my Prius and figure out how to, where's the gas go again?
I mean, fair enough. I mean, I know that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, that's super hard. We've had a lot of great cars. We've had almost, when I was with the partners with my original people, but we've been on our own for 18 years.
Yeah.
We've crested the 3,000 mark on the way to 4,000 individual pieces.
That's
You know,
incredible.
and it doesn't sound like a lot of cars if you're a Toyota dealer, but if you're buying one at a time, it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, in the collector car world, that is massive. So the Prius is actually a great segue to the next topic I wanted to discuss. It's the electrification of classic cars. I've seen these things popping up. I'm sure you've seen these companies too, Tony, that are taking iconic classic cars and completely outfitting them, souping them up with an electric engine, basically making an electric car that actually looks cool. What are your thoughts on this? Is this the wave of the future? As a car guy, does this offend you? What do you think?
I'd like to answer that in a few different ways. First off, I think electrification may be the coolest thing ever in the way it works, right? When you think about it, we're eliminating a drive shaft, cooling systems, oiling systems, maintenance, right? We're really eliminating a lot of the superfluous pieces that are on a car that require a lot of taking care of, detail, engineering, those kinds of things. The fact that you put a motor in each wheel and you have all-wheel drive and you have incredible 0 to 60 times in sheer silence is amazing. However, because I get asked this question every single day, because everybody knows that I'm in the car business, right? And they know that I don't sell anything that's like mainstream. Yeah. And so I say this about electric cars. Electric cars are they're great, but they're very much like sex without sound. So imagine the best sex you've ever had in complete silence. Just don't know that any of us have had that. And so we miss out on a visceral piece of the performance puzzle.
Sounds like something amazing that is lacking something that is crucial to the experience.
You're free to use that. I came up with that on my own. It is not stolen from anybody else. I'm allowing you to use that. But it's very much like sex without sound. Sex is awesome, right? But the sound is a big piece of it.
I think that's going to go on my social media bio. Put that out there. I'm going to adopt that. I love it. Okay. So, well said. You've been in business a long time. You've dealt with so many different types of cars. Like you said, you're on your way to 4,000 individual pieces. You've sold to probably every type of buyer under the sun. Who's the most famous person that's ever entered your showroom and bought something from you? I'm sure there's been a handful of them.
Well, I would say that there's more people that have way more money than famous people that have entered our showrooms, and people that begin with a B in their portfolio.
Okay.
Billionaires. Billionaires are weird people. They're just weird people. They just are. Yeah. And for all the billionaires out there that are listening to this, I apologize, but listen, I'm a weird person because you can't pull all this off here unless you're a little bit weird. Yeah. Right. And so these guys come in and sometimes they're in jeans and a regular shirt and you wouldn't know anything. Other times they'll call up and say, listen, can I come see you personally? I normally deal with the dealer. And so that's really typically how we do it. And the people that are famous would not like me to say their name. And
sure.
They yeah.
All right, Tony. Let's talk a little bit about the industry. Obviously there are collector cars out there that just seem to really hold their value. They're very tried and true. They're enjoyed across many generations, but things are always changing, right? Things are kind of falling out of interest, declining in value. There are other things that seem to bubble up in interest and really pop in value. What are your thoughts on the industry in the next 5-10 years? Is there anything that you see coming down the pipe that's going to be the new thing, something for folks to keep an eye out for?
I can tell you exactly what they'll be. So what we thought and this happened before I got in the business, probably, the same people said this before us, and the same thing that you don't want to sound like your parents, right? You don't want to say things that oh my God, I sound like my parents when I say that, right? Like today's youth doesn't work as hard as we did back in the day, right?
Sure, yeah.
in this case here, I'm going to say that the world has more money, and we are going to start to lose people who buy Tri-550s, vintage cars, and 90s vintage and 2000 vintage cars, right? are going to be the next collector cars, because these kids that are coming today make way more money than we did when we were of that age, and but they couldn't afford it at the time, right?
Sure.
They had video games. They had, they had an information superhighway that perhaps I didn't have. Maybe you were on the cusp tail of that. But when I was a kid, we didn't really have that. We didn't have a cell phone in 1982. It took a few years until we got one in 85, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I really see the 90s vintage, the 2000 vintage cars really going up in value. We're seeing low mileage Mustang GTs, 89s to 91, that last kind of run of those cars.
Yeah.
Those cars, some of those cars are already in the upper 20s now.
Yeah, that's right.
Upper 20s. But the market has to have a correction sooner or later. It has to. The cars are rising too fast. And I remember I've been through 3 of these cycles, and I'm making sure that I prepare myself. I'm not buying any modern cars right now. I don't buy any modern cars. And that's a big portion of our business was 18s, 19s, and 20s. But because they're so overinflated in price, and the simple fact is you can buy a brand new car for the same price I have to pay for an 18. It's silly. I just tell the customer, man, go order yourself a new one and wait.
Yeah. Go park it. And it'll be worth something.
Right. But so that's the way I see the future. I see the future is that people, even if they have an electric car, an electric car is a great car. It really is. It's cool. It's super cool, and it solves a lot of issues. Once we get past some of the infrastructure to support it, super fast charging stations. It can't take 2 hours or an hour and a half to charge it. All right, people are not going to stand for that. It has to have a supercharger that in 15 minutes you can go another 200 miles.
Sure.
Everywhere. It has to be everywhere.
Just enough time to grab a Wendy's hamburger, hop back in the car, get going.
Exactly. And so I think that was so good. But anyway, my point is that people will still own, just as they do today. We all have to have a daily driver.
Yeah.
And a daily driver keeps our cool car from getting dirty and not being cool and being a daily driver. You don't want to drive your 89 Mustang GT every day to work, because somebody did that in the past, and that's why they got rid of it. Yeah. You want that to be a Friday car you drive to work, right? And you, on your way home from work, you call and you say, listen, I'm wheeling on home. I'll see you when I get there. And you shut off your phone, man. You get no text feed. You get no Twitter feed. You get no social media. You get no Facebook. Your boss can't call you. No one can call you. You put on some music. You put the thing in first gear and you wheel on home, and it changes your life.
That's right. I love it. Let's talk about your current inventory, Tony. Again, you can go to Fleming'sUltimateGarage.com and take a look at what Tony's got in stock. But in your opinion, what's one of the coolest cars you have in inventory right now?
I probably have one of the coolest cars. You'd ask a cool car. I have a cool car that's only 2,100 of these were built, and it's 70 years old next year. 70. It's a 53 DeSoto wagon. Right. So I don't know if you can go on the site and see that real quick. It's a 53 DeSoto surf with a surfboard on top, full custom suspension, modern drivetrain, power heated seats, full digital dash.
Let's take a look here. 1953 DeSoto, you said.
Yeah.
There it is. It's right there. A Fire Dome Surfer.
Yes. Check that car out. That's just a great looking car. Like, look at the hood and the grill.
But yeah, I've pulled it up here, and it is a gorgeous looking car. Like you're talking about, the grill, everything like that. Every little detail on here is like a work of art.
It really is when you look at it, and I didn't realize how few they were. How
many did you say they made?
2,100.
2,100.
2,100. I mean, I don't know if you know, but in 1953 or 1955, the Chevrolet Bel Air, like the 150-210, they made over 1 million of that model. 1 million. Yeah. There's only 2,000 of these DeSoto Fire Dome wagons. And like the wheel flares in the rear and the hood scoop, and just like, that's a great looking wagon.
That's gorgeous. That color, I'm looking at it. It's cocoa foam and parchment. I
invented that name. I'd like to point that out since I wrote the end.
I love it though. The interior is absolutely gorgeous. So is this recently restored, or has this just been kept in amazing condition?
No, it's definitely been restored, but I'd say it's probably a 10-year-old restoration, but it's held up well.
Yeah, look at that woodwork.
So anyway, I hope you liked it.
Man, I love it. Well, Tony, again, thanks so much for your time. It's always a pleasure. It's always fun just to catch up with you, see what you have in inventory, get your thoughts on the industry. I think our listeners really enjoyed it. Would love to have you back. And for those listening who want to see more of what Tony's got in stock, it's the best of the best. Go to Fleming'sUltimateGarage.com. Thanks so much, Tony.
All right, Zach. Thanks so much for everything. Have a great day.
You too. Alrighty.
See you.